Stop. Before you take your next step, pause. The world is loud, rushing, demanding more from you every second. But the chosen are not shaped in noise. They are formed in silence. In Shaolin teaching, restraint is greater than force, and stillness is sharper than the fastest strike. True strength does not reveal itself in constant movement. It reveals itself in the power to wait, to hold, to listen. Many will rush forward and call it progress. Yet in their haste, they miss the hidden current beneath the surface. When chaos surrounds you, only silence allows you to hear the deeper rhythm of life. This pause is not emptiness. It is the doorway to clarity, discipline, and mastery. Today I will guide you into principles rarely spoken of. You will learn why Shaolin masters train not only in combat but in stillness. Why breath is not only survival but a weapon. Why surrender is not weakness but a gate into untouchable strength. These are not ideas for the mind alone. They are practices for the spirit, and they are urgent for you now, because the chosen cannot afford to be lost in the noise of the world. Stay with me until the end, because each step will unfold a layer of wisdom that ties directly to your own path. The longer you walk with this teaching, the clearer your inner direction becomes. I welcome you to Shaolin Soulfire. If these teachings speak to your heart, I invite you to join our path by subscribing. Together we walk slowly, but every step is unshakable. Every pause prepares us for what comes next. There is a silence deeper than the absence of sound. It is the silence that sharpens the blade of awareness, the silence that reveals what noise tries to cover. In Shaolin training, this silence is not emptiness, it is the furnace where discipline is forged. A monk may sit in stillness for hours, not to escape life, but to see life as it truly is. In that silence, distractions lose their power, and the restless mind begins to settle like water after a storm. When the mind grows still, illusions fall away. What once seemed urgent reveals itself as trivial. What once felt heavy becomes light. In this clarity, truth rises quietly, like the dawn breaking without effort. Mindfulness teaches that silence is not passive. It is active listening, active seeing. It is the moment where the chosen one steps beyond appearances and begins to hear the hidden rhythm of existence. There are stories of masters who would answer questions not with words but with silence. Their students would struggle, restless and confused. Yet with time, the silence would pierce deeper than any spoken teaching. This is the nature of silence. It works slowly, invisibly, until its strength becomes undeniable. For the chosen ones, silence is divine preparation. It is the moment before the strike, the breath before the leap, the prayer before the answer. The world calls it weakness because it does not understand. But silence is where you gather unseen strength, where you align with God's timing rather than the world's impatience. To embrace silence is to prepare the heart, the mind, and the body for what is yet to come. It is the ground from which true mastery rises, steady and unshakable. There is a reason the old masters guarded their focus as fiercely as a warrior guards his blade. They understood that attention shapes reality. Wherever the mind lingers, the spirit follows. In a world filled with noise, distractions are not just harmless, they are thieves. They steal your energy, your clarity, your purpose. And once attention is scattered, life itself feels scattered. In Shaolin tradition, training was never just about strength of the body. It was about anchoring the mind. A novice would be given the simplest task, sweeping the floor, carrying water, breathing with awareness. At first, frustration would rise. The task felt too ordinary, too small. But over time, the lesson became clear. If the mind wanders during small things, it will collapse during great trials. By mastering attention in the ordinary, the extraordinary becomes possible. Discipline begins with choosing where your mind rests. Let it rest on complaint, and you will grow restless. Let it rest on fear, and the world shrinks around you. But let it rest on breath, on silence, on truth, and you begin to cultivate strength that no storm can shake. This is why Shaolin wisdom says, the mind follows where attention flows. Even today, the greatest battles are not fought with fists, but with focus. Every time you reclaim your attention from distraction, you reclaim a piece of your power. Every time you choose stillness over noise, you step closer to mastery. And mastery is not about controlling the world outside. It is about governing the world within. To guide attention is to guide destiny. This is the beginning of inner freedom, the kind that no one can take from you. The world urges you to run faster, to measure your worth by how much you achieve, how much you gather, how far ahead you stand compared to others. This voice is loud, relentless, and it seeps into every corner of life. Yet beneath that noise, there is another voice, quiet, steady, and timeless. It does not demand, it invites. It whispers, pause, reflect, align. In the Shaolin way, slowness is not weakness, it is precision. A master does not rush into movement. Each gesture is deliberate, each step taken with full awareness. The strike that looks slow in practice becomes sharper than lightning when the moment is right, because it has been trained with patience, with full presence. The principle is simple. When every motion is intentional, there is no waste, no hesitation, no confusion. There are stories of monks who would spend years perfecting a single form. Outsiders mocked the pace, unable to see the transformation happening within. But the discipline of slowness was not about the form itself. It was about reshaping the heart, steadying the mind, aligning the body with the deeper rhythm of life. When that alignment is reached, speed arises naturally, without effort. To pause is not to fall behind. To move slowly with awareness is to conserve power, to sharpen clarity, to hear the guidance that gets lost in constant rushing. God's whisper can only be heard when you are still enough to listen. This is why chosen ones are called to move differently, not in endless competition, but in sacred alignment. In this way, slowness becomes sharper than speed, because it carries the weight of presence, and presence is where true strength lives. The fiercest battles are not fought on open fields. They are fought in silence, within the heart and mind of every chosen one. Doubt whispers that you are not enough. Fear tightens its grip when the path ahead is unclear. Anger burns, quick to rise and quick to consume. Desire distracts, promising satisfaction but leaving only emptiness behind. These are the inner enemies that stalk quietly, and if left unchecked, they rule without mercy. Shaolin training begins here, not with striking or defense, but with recognition of this hidden war. A student may be placed in long meditations, held in stillness until every restless thought rises to the surface. The point is not to escape these shadows, but to face them. To see doubt clearly is to weaken its hold. To breathe through fear is to loosen its chains. To sit with anger without acting is to reclaim control. Masters would say, conquer yourself, and no enemy outside can touch you. The warrior who defeats his inner demons walks into battle already free. His movements are not clouded by hesitation, not poisoned by rage, not weakened by craving. This is mastery, not of the world, but of the self. Each chosen one must pass through this fire. The fight within cannot be avoided. It must be endured, embraced, and ultimately transformed. Doubt can become humility. Fear can become caution that sharpens awareness. Anger can become fuel for justice. Desire can become discipline to stay the course. When the inner war is won, the outer world no longer holds the same power. Victory begins within, and from that place of mastery, every step forward becomes steady, unshakable, and true. Breath is the first act of life and the last. Yet most people pass through their days without ever noticing it. They breathe as if it were only a function of the body, a background rhythm that keeps them alive. But in Shaolin wisdom, breath is far more than survival. It is strategy. It is the bridge between body, mind, and spirit, the thread that weaves them into one. When a student enters training, the first lesson is not a strike or a stance, but the breath. Inhale with awareness, exhale with intention. The body softens, the mind clears, the spirit steadies. Without this foundation, strength is wasted. Movements collapse and focus breaks under pressure. With it, even the simplest gesture becomes powerful, charged with hidden energy. There are stories of masters who could slow their breathing until it was barely there. Their bodies calm while storms raged around them. They understood that to command the breath was to command the self. Each conscious breath trains discipline, sharpens awareness, and teaches patience. It is a way of mastering time itself, stretching a single moment into eternity, slowing down the rush of thought until clarity appears. Every inhale draws energy in. Every exhale releases what weighs you down. Breath carries memory, emotion, and presence. When directed with care, it transforms weakness into strength, exhaustion into renewal. This is why the chosen are called to breathe with awareness, not carelessly. For in each breath lies a choice, to be scattered or to be whole, to live unconsciously or to walk with mastery. Breath is the most simple, yet the most powerful practice. Through it, you hold the key to balance, to energy, and to the quiet strength that cannot be broken. A monk does not walk his path burdened with unnecessary weight. The discipline of Shaolin is not only about training the body, but also about emptying the heart of what drags it down. Grudges, attachments, endless desires, these are chains heavier than any iron. They bend the spirit, cloud the mind, and exhaust the body. To move forward with freedom, these weights must be released. There is a story of a master and his disciple crossing a river. They met a woman who could not pass, and the master carried her across on his back. Hours later, the disciple broke his silence, troubled. "Master, why did you carry her? We are taught not to hold onto attachments." The master smiled and said, "I set her down at the river. Why are you still carrying her?" The lesson was clear. Holding on to what should have been released is what drains life. God's chosen are not meant to carry everything into the future. Some burdens are lessons meant to be honored but left behind. Some attachments are tests meant to reveal where we cling too tightly. The further one walks with unnecessary weight, the slower and weaker the journey becomes. To let go is not to lose. It is to gain clarity, energy, and strength for what lies ahead. Lightness is power. A mind free from resentment reacts with wisdom, not impulse. A heart free from craving beats with peace, not restlessness. Detachment is not coldness. It is clarity. It allows you to see life as it is, unclouded by illusions of possession or control. The chosen walk lighter, not because they lack love, but because they refuse to be prisoners of what no longer serves their path. Life does not move in a straight line. It unfolds in rhythms and cycles, just as the seasons turn from spring to summer, from autumn to winter. There are times for action, when energy surges forward and doors open. There are times for waiting, when silence is the greater strength. There are times to retreat, to gather what has been scattered. And there are times to advance, with clarity and precision. Mastery is found in honoring each season, rather than forcing one to last forever. In Shaolin teaching, timing is everything. A master does not strike simply because he can. He waits until the moment is ripe. When all preparation and presence converge, to strike too soon is waste. To strike too late is defeat. But to act in perfect rhythm with the moment, that is power. This is why training is not only about skill but about patience, awareness, and trust in the right timing. The chosen are called to walk with this same wisdom. The world urges impatience. Hurry now, take more, push harder. But divine timing cannot be rushed. What is meant for you will not arrive too early, nor too late. The discipline is in trusting the rhythm, even when waiting feels like delay or retreat feels like weakness. There are stories of monks who trained years for a single test, never knowing the day it would come. Yet when the moment arrived, they were ready, not because they rushed, but because they aligned themselves with patience and trust. So too must the chosen live. To align with divine timing is to step in harmony with life itself, and in that harmony every move becomes unshakable. In Shaolin practice, training the body alone is not enough. Muscles may grow strong, but without clarity of thought, that strength is blind. Thoughts may sharpen like blades, but without spirit, they cut without wisdom. True mastery comes only when body, mind, and spirit are woven together, each supporting the other in balance. This harmony is what makes a practitioner steady, no matter what storm may rise. The monks speak of it as a tripod. If one leg is weak, the structure falls. The body must be disciplined so it can carry the weight of life. The mind must be disciplined so it does not scatter in confusion. The spirit must be disciplined so that every act is rooted in purpose. When the three align, a quiet strength emerges, one that cannot easily be broken. God's chosen are called to the same alignment. Fragmentation is the great weakness of modern life. Hearts chasing one desire, minds lost in another, bodies exhausted in a different direction. This division breeds restlessness, confusion, and imbalance. But when the chosen bring themselves into unity, life gains rhythm. Thoughts match actions. Actions reflect spirit. Spirit guides the whole. There is a story of a monk who was tested not in combat but in stillness. He was placed in the middle of a crowd, noise pressing on every side. His task was simple: remain calm, not move, not react, not waver. He passed not because his body was strong, but because his mind and spirit stood with it in harmony. When storms come, harmony is what holds you steady. The body does not panic, the mind does not scatter, the spirit does not despair. Together, they form an unshakable presence. This is the strength the chosen must carry. There is a kind of strength that does not come from holding tighter, but from letting go. Many mistake surrender for weakness as if it were a sign of defeat. Yet in truth, surrender is not giving up. It is the release of false control. To surrender is to acknowledge that not all battles are yours to fight. Not all burdens are yours to carry. It is the wisdom of knowing when to act and when to step back into the greater rhythm of life. Shaolin monks bow often. To an outsider, it may appear as a lowering of the self, a sign of smallness. But the bow is not about diminishing. It is about aligning with truth. In that moment of bending, the monk surrenders pride, ego, and resistance. He bows to the flow of life, to the reality of what is, and through that bow, he rises stronger. The act is not submission to weakness, but a declaration of unity with something greater than the self. For the chosen, surrender is the hidden doorway to strength unseen. When you insist on control, you exhaust yourself against the vastness of life. But when you surrender to God's rhythm, you move in harmony with power far beyond your own. Obstacles that once felt immovable begin to shift, not because you forced them, but because you aligned with timing, with purpose, with truth. There is a deep freedom in surrender. Fear loses its grip because you no longer cling to outcomes. Anxiety loosens because you trust the path beyond your own sight. In this surrender, chosen ones discover a strength that does not waver, a strength born not of resistance, but of alignment with the divine flow. There comes a time when the chosen must stop searching the sky for signals and realize that they themselves are the signal. Too often people wait for proof, for a word, for a sign that confirms their path. But those who walk the way of discipline, silence, and surrender understand something deeper. Their life itself becomes the message. In Shaolin tradition, the greatest masters spoke little. Their students would ask for secrets, for hidden techniques, for revelations to speed their progress. Instead, the masters demonstrated through presence. The way they moved, the way they breathed, even the way they sat in stillness carried lessons more profound than any explanation. Their mastery was not in words, but in the atmosphere they created, the unshakable calm that surrounded them. This is a reminder: truth is not always taught, it is lived. For the chosen, the same is true. By embodying silence, you show others that peace is possible even in chaos. By practicing discipline, you reveal the strength of restraint in a world addicted to excess. By surrendering pride and control, you mirror the courage of trust. You are not waiting for signs. You are the sign that others are desperately searching for. There is a saying: the candle does not preach, yet it lights the darkness. The tree does not argue, yet it gives shade. Presence is enough. The chosen carry the same quiet power. Without needing to announce, without demanding attention, their very being becomes a message of balance, resilience, and faith. This is the heart of mastery, not to persuade with words, but to transform with presence. And in that presence, others find their own strength reflected back to them. Chosen ones, remember this: life will always try to pull you into haste, but wisdom calls you into rhythm. Every pause you honor, Every breath you take with awareness, every moment you surrender what no longer serves you, these are steps of strength, not weakness. The Shaolin path reminds us that mastery is not about rushing through life, but about moving in harmony with it. Carry this teaching into your days. When the world grows loud, choose silence. When pressure rises, return to your breath. When impatience stirs, trust divine timing. These simple practices will keep you aligned, steady, and prepared for what is meant to arrive in your life. If this message has spoken to your heart, I invite you to walk with us on this path of wisdom. Subscribe to Shaolin Soulfire, and together we will continue to nurture strength, clarity, and presence, one step, one breath, one moment at a time. Peace to you on your journey.